Welcome to another edition of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Once again, every month, we have the honor of having Thomas Caldwell on the program, and it is that time again. Thomas, of course, is the chairman of Caldwell Securities in Toronto. Tom, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tony. Good to be with you.
Lots to talk about. I could go in many different directions, but let's start with the Bank of Canada rate cut that was announced just a few days ago. Well, what's your take on why that happened and whether that is a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think they almost have to do it. We're facing uncertainty. We want to bring the cost of capital down. Um, we don't know what's going to happen in the jobs front, particularly in the auto sector. So I think it's a prudent move at this point in time. They're not even thinking really about inflation per se,
No.
as opposed to just trying to keep the economy on an even keel till we work through this period of great uncertainty.
Yes. So do want to ask you about the uncertainty, particularly on the tariffs front. And I have to give my habitual warning on this program now that whatever we talk about might be changed. Uh, 360 degrees by the time we're actually on the air. But having said that, I know you know the broad brushstrokes of where we're at. So what do you think about the current tariff situation? Let's put it that way.
Well, first off, it could be changed before we finish this interview.
Right.
That's how quickly it is. As I said to you earlier, I have two questions every morning. What part of my body is going to hurt today, and what is Mr. Trump going to do today? He's got tariffs really emblazoned in his mind. Underneath it all, he sees tariffs as a means of paying for tax cuts. He sees tariffs as a way of punishing his opponents, and so he's not going to back off them very much. I think, unfortunately, we're confronting him in the wrong manner.
Okay, tell us more about that, because we have been doing these countervail tariffs, but you don't think that's the right strategy?
I don't think so. It's playing his game. We should play a bigger, better, higher game. For example, when Premier Ford says we're going to put a tariff on an export duty on electricity, then he doubles up on steel and aluminum to 50%. Then we back off again. We don't. I hate to quote Mr. Trump, but we don't have really the cards in this game. The better defense, it's like judo, if you will. Use your opponent's strength against him, or it's like scripture, turn the other cheek. And I don't mean to do that weakly. I think what we should do is stand in the fact that we're Canadians and say, you know what, this is the wrong way to go. We as Canadians are going to stick to our agreements. We have a free trade agreement, the USMC agreement with the United States, and we're going to stick to that. And we're not increasing tariffs at all. And it's like, don't play his game. And in fact, if anything, I don't know that the man knows any shame, but it does make him stand out as breaking his word, breaking his agreements, untrustworthy. I think that's a better defense, because if we up the ante, he'll keep upping the ante. I think we got to, in fact, if anything, we should say, well, we're thinking of cutting tariffs in several ways because we're a free trading country, and we are. If we do that way, we would set an example for the world. But everybody's really reacting, not as statesmen here,
No.
reacting as politicians, with no offense. But what they're doing is, okay, I'm going to show I'm Captain Canada and we're tough and sharp-elbowed game and you're not going to beat us. You see, I'm standing up for Canada. That's not the right approach. That it may play well for the domestic audience, but I don't think it really achieves the goals we want. We want to take the high ground. We want to be seen as the best. We want to be seen as people who stick to our words, that we can deal with people. And I think that would be a far better defense.
Do you think that, though, that Trump would see that as a weakness rather than as a strength?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because if he says, you see, I got Canada to reduce duties, that sort of thing, or some of this marketing, so I got Canada to do that. There's a great phrase. It's amazing what you can achieve in life if you don't care who gets credit for it. But the real key is we've got to take the steam out of this. Now, I see Premier Ford has now got into that game of take the steam. But it'd look silly increasing, decreasing because he ups the ante. I don't know that we've seen it, whether he would see it as weakness or not, but I think most of the world would see it as strength. And eventually he would, and his advisors would see it as strength, that this is the way to go. Free trade has raised millions and millions of people out of poverty around the world. It's been an incredible blessing for the world. And now he's going protectionist. That's his thing. We can't control what he does.
Right.
But I don't really want to hear our politicians talking about Trump. I don't want to even hear his name. What are we going to do to make Canada better?
And we'll
That's what I
talk
wanna
about
hear.
that. Yeah, we'll talk about that
Yes.
after the break for sure. We'll be back after these messages.